Assalamualaikum. Welcome to this video tutorial on simplifying Java for OOP1 students of King Faisal University and for others who want to learn Java. This is part 16 in this series and is entitled Class Constructors in Java. In part 4, we were already introduced to classes and objects. You may visit it again before proceeding here to see the example that we did about class animal that has 3 states and 4 behaviors or methods, but without a constructor. A class constructor is invoked to create objects in a class. It uses the name of the class and is written like a method with no return type. In this example, the class person is a constructor. Notice that the name of the constructor is also the name of the class. It is public, which means it can also be private, protected, or package private. But take note that it cannot be static, abstract, final, native, or synchronized. Constructors also have no return type, not even void. So if we instantiate this class in another class like person demo, and it will display the two variables, the output will be none for name and 0 for the num. From time to time, we might use different terms to mean state like property, field, and variable. Also for behavior, which can be method or function. Take note that constructor is not a method, but some people call it a special method. Let's proceed with activity number 31. We will create a student grade class that instantiates student details class. Student details has 5 variables: name, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and average. It has a constructor that initializes name to no name and the rest to 0. We will create a non-void method getAverage that computes and returns the average of 3 grades. We will create another method, the display_details, that displays the name and average. In student grade class, we will call display_details method. Then, we will assign the values USEP, 95, 85, and 90 to the variables. Finally, we will call the methods getAverage and display_details. We will have 4 inputs, but none of them will be provided by the user, as all of them will be assigned inside the code. In the process, for the student details class, we will set 5 variables. We will create a constructor. We will create the method getAverage and the display_details method. For the class student grade, we will first instantiate the student details class. Then we will call the display_details method. We will set the values. Then we will call the methods getAverage and display_details. Our output will still be the name and the average. Let's call our project student grade. Right-click the package, click New, Java class, and type student details. This will be the name of our second class. This class will have 5 variables. The name, which is a string, the 3 grades, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3, and the average, which we will make double. Next, we will create a constructor. Of course, the name is also the name of the class, which is student details. We will set values for the name. It will be no name. And then 0 for the other variables. Grade 1 is equal to 0. Grade 2 is equal to 0. Grade 3 is equal to 0. And also for the average is equal to 0. Then we will create the method getAverage. We'll set it to public. The return type is double. The name is getAverage. And it simply will get the average by adding first the 3 numbers, the 3 grades, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. And then we'll divide the sum by 3. The return type, the return value will be the average. Excuse me, sorry. Then we'll also create the method to display the details, which is void. The name is this display_details, and it will simply display 2 data the name and the average. Let's proceed to student grade class. First thing we have to do is to instantiate student details class. Let's call it student is equal to new student details class. Next, we have to call the method display details. Look at this. Now that we have the object student, upon typing the dot after the name student, we can already see all the five variables and the two methods that we did, display details and get average. Remember that at this point, if you run it, it will first execute the constructor. So we'll call display details method. Then we can set the values already. Student that name is equal to Yusuf. Then the three grades, student that grade 1 is equal to 95. Student that grade 2 is equal to 85. And the last grade, student that grade 3 is equal to 90. After that, we can now get the average by calling the method getAverage there. So at this point, when we call it, it's going to compute the average of the three grades. Then last, we will display the details. Again, by using the method display details. Now let's try to run it. So no input from the user. So the first run of the display details, we have name is no name and the average is 0. That's because in the student details, when you first run the constructor, the initial value of the name is no name and the values of the three grades are 0 and the average is 0. So we have no name and average 0. Now after setting the values of name and the three grades, we have here the name is already Yusuf and the average is 90 upon getting the sum and dividing them by 3. Good, good job. Remember when we applied overloading to our methods? Well, we can do the same for our constructor. Look at these constructors. Of course, they have the same name because they have the name of the class. But the difference that this constructor doesn't have any parameter, while this one has two. So when you instantiate this class, you can have no parameter to call the first constructor, or you can instantiate it with two parameters to call the second constructor. So we're ready for our next activity. We will revise the student details class by creating another constructor that has four parameters, name and three grades, and computes the average. We will also revise the student grade class by instantiating student details class again with the four parameters having the values Mustafa, 190, and 95. And then we will call the method display details. So the revisions that we will do is that we're going to create another constructor, student details with four parameters. And for the student grade, we're going to instantiate again the student details and then we will display the details. So go back to student details class and let's create another constructor, student details. But this time there will be four parameters. String, let's call it n, and the three grades, let's call them G1, G2, and G3. So we will set the value of name equal to whatever value we will receive that's in n. The same thing with grade 1, which will be equal to G1, and grade 2 for G2, and grade 3 for G3. Now, what's different also from this constructor is that we can already compute the average. So no need to call the get average method. From here, since we already have the three values, we can already add them and divide them by 3. Kalas. Now, double click student grade class. The first thing we have to do here is to instantiate again the student details class. Let's call it student2 is equal to new student details. Now, what's different about this instantiation is that to use the second constructor, we have to put these arguments Mustafa for the name and the three values for the grades 100, and 95. Remember also that by using that constructor, we have already computed the average, so no need to call the get average method. Now we can simply display the details and kalas. Let's try to run it. You're familiar with the first two names. Now look at the third one. The name is Mustafa, the argument Mustafa, and the average is 95. Okay, good job. Thank you for watching this video. Masalama.